Hi, and welcome to video number 4. We're going to talk about how to write your ads, the do's and the don'ts, and how to get them approved. Now, if there's one thing that should help you write good ads and get them approved, is if you think about Facebook's mission and their goal is to provide the best possible experience for the user. So if you think about that, then you make an ad that makes the user's experience great, then you might have a good ad. Now, of course, that kind of can be a little vague, so just to make sure you're on the right track, we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts, how to write your ad, and of course, how to find a picture that will add to your ad. First, let's talk about the don'ts. These are things that you don't want to do. You don't want to mislead the user, so you basically don't want them to be reading whatever they're reading, and then, of course, leading them to a landing page that has nothing to do with your ad. You don't want to do that because you want to utilize Facebook's extremely targeted system. If you do it all right, you just follow their steps, step by step, you should create a good Facebook ad campaign. So definitely do not mislead the users. Do not insult people with their race, religion. In fact, you can't use race or religion and things like that in the ad. I believe Facebook actually changed their rules and regulations. So sometimes in the past you might see like dating sites like African American, Asian, Caucasian dating sites or Russian brides and things like that. And because of the abuse, Facebook has been changing their rules. So, but even so, there's still ways to get around that and still ways to target your potential buyers because it's extremely targeted in any ways. Do not use all capital letters. Facebook absolutely hates it when you write an ad that has all capital letters. It's like screaming to somebody. So if you think about it, to make the user's experience better, if somebody was talking to you in all capital letters, I mean, how would you feel? You would probably feel insulted or you feel like they're yelling at you. Don't use all small letters. You want to do proper capitalization. For example, I say don't use all small letters. I capitalize the D in the first of the sentence, so that's correct. If I don't capitalize the D, that would mean that that means you're just using all small letters. So you want to use a proper grammar as well. Don't use redirected landing pages like iframes as your landing pages and things like that. You want to make sure whatever your landing page is, whether it's a squeeze page, it's the direct page that you're forwarding them to. Don't use numbers in place of words. Let's say you say something like, learn how to get learn 4 ways to blah, blah, blah. There are many ways where you can just put words instead of numbers. Basically, as you can see here, Facebook wants you to use proper grammar. No guns, no alcohol, no abuse, no hate. Pretty much no anything illegal. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Now here are the do's. The do's are use proper grammar and capitalization. So you kind of learned that from the first slide of the don'ts. Use an action picture that relates to your audience and the ad itself. One big mistake that a lot of people make is they just upload any picture. You want to upload a picture of somebody doing something, for example, candles. Maybe somebody lighting a candle or somebody doing something with a candle. Don't just upload a picture of a candle. Or ultimate frisbee, which we're going to talk about in this particular video series. Ultimate frisbee as an example, have somebody maybe catching a frisbee or throwing a frisbee. It's showing maybe my product is about throwing really good ultimate frisbee, the skills of throwing it and things like that. So I could have somebody throwing it, somebody catching it, basically something that relates to your ad itself. And you got to keep in mind that the picture itself actually adds more value to your textual ad. In this whole video series, we're talking about the standard Facebook ads. Do use your demographics to target the right person. You want to make sure you do all the research, which I talked about in video number 2. finding the demographics, and we'll be using that same demographics that we figured out in the next video where we talk about setting up your ad campaign. You do also want to use a landing page, whether it's a fan page or a squeeze page. Definitely want to use a land page, but you definitely want to make sure that landing page, doesn't have iframes and doesn't have anything misleading and things like that. As long as your ad is related to your landing page, or your landing page is related to your ad, and when somebody clicks your ad, they're expecting to see exactly what it is on the landing page. If that's the case, then you're going to get a lot more higher conversion rates. So not only are you just following Facebook's guidelines, you're also going to be able to increase your conversion rates. And you also need a call to action. Too many times have people written ads and somebody clicks on the ad, doesn't know what to do. So you need to assume that people do not know what to do, even though it's obvious. Just automatically presume that nobody knows what to do. So you can tell them exactly, okay, click here, next thing on landing page, fill out this form, etc., etc. Now, keeping up with the guidelines is important because with Facebook, ad guidelines often change. They usually add stuff onto it, or they remove things and change it around. So it's a good idea to keep updated with them. In fact, they made a recent change a few months ago about CPM versus CPC, and I'll talk about that later in the video where we talk about testing the ad. And of course, we're going to talk about writing your ads right now. Now, before I actually talk about writing an ad, I want to talk about the basics of writing an ad. The first thing you want to know is the character limits of the title and the body. The title, of course, is going to be the headline, can only be 25 characters. So you want to use those characters wisely. Generally, you want to keep whatever keyword that you're bidding on or whatsoever in the title of your ad, as well as the body of your ad. Because if you think about it, if somebody has, let's say, Ultimate Frisbee in their profile as a hobby, and they see your ad, they see Ultimate Frisbee training and then something about Ultimate Frisbee in the body, they're more likely to click on it, because that's their hobby. And especially if you can reach out to their problems or pains and things like that, which is what I'm going to be talking about next. Before you write your ad, use a simple step-by-step system to write your ad, and you'll find that it's very, very easy to do so. The first thing you need to do or think of, what are their pains? What is the thing that keeps them up at night? What are they agitated about? What makes them angry? What makes them sad? Things like that. You get the point. Then what you want to do is agitate their pain. So let's talk about Ultimate Frisbee. And let's write an ad so that you can see how to properly write an ad. What are the problems that Ultimate Frisbee people face? Well, when I play Ultimate Frisbee, when I began playing Ultimate Frisbee, there's a lot of things that I faced. It's like my throws kept getting blocked. You would throw it, somebody's all up in your face trying to block you as you're trying to throw it to your teammate. So, your throws keep getting blocked. It's quite annoying. Like, how do you get around that? Throws are not as accurate. Of course, when I began, my throws were not as accurate. So if I threw it at somebody, it might go far left, far right, or things like that. Looking like a loser in front of your friends. That's definitely one biggie in terms of pretty much a lot of different niches out there. But looking like a loser in front of your friends, like standing out there, your friends are counting on you to get the Frisbee across the field, and throwing it and having it blocked is, it's kind of strokes on the ego thing. But it's definitely a good selling point because, think about it. People play sports. They're out there because they're not just for health reasons, but so that they can not only beat themselves and beat their scores, but peer pressure does have some things to do with it too. Skills are not that great. Now let's talk about writing an ad. Remember, do not insult people. Facebook does not like it if you insult their users. Remember, Facebook's whole purpose of their ads is to create a great experience for their users. And unlike Google AdWords, not saying Google AdWords is horrible, unlike Google AdWords though, you can't specifically target people with Ultimate Frisbee unless you're doing just keywords. But with Facebook, because it's social networking and people go there because they like to keep up with their friends and things like that, they want to make sure the ad experience is good. So do not insult their users, or there are consequences. Here's a bad headline. Do your Frisbee skills suck? Or your Frisbee skills suck? You definitely don't want to do that because that's insulting their users. Plus, I highly doubt that you're going to get approval with Facebook, especially if you're using cuss words and things like that in your ad. They want you to be grammatically correct. And another thing about this, as you can see, I capitalized every single word in this sentence. They don't want that. The only thing they want is you to capitalize do and then possibly Frisbee if that was like, a name or of something. Good would be something like Ultimate Frisbee Training. Remember, if my keywords that I'm targeting are people that have the words Ultimate Frisbee in their specific profile, then of course I want to use that same thing in my headline. Now, as you can see, this is less than 25 characters, so you got to really use your words carefully and wisely because you only get 3 or 4 characters, or 3 or 4 words max, probably, depending on how long your words are. And then, of course, this is my body. As you can see, improve your Ultimate Frisbee throws from beginner to pro in less than 30 days. And then, of course, I could agitate the paint. I could say, look great in front of your friends while you throw a professional hammer throw or something like that. So you could even get more technical because if you're dealing with people that play Ultimate Frisbee, they know what a hammer throw is. So you can get a little more technical in that light because you have to know who your audience is. If you know who your audience is, then it's much easier to write your ad. So as you can see, it's very, very easy to write, but you have to know their pains, their problems, and what they face first before you actually write the ad. And of course, follow the guidelines to make sure that you don't insult people and you make their experience great. If you make the user's experience great, guess what? You'll get better click-through rates and things like that. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is getting pictures for your ad. Now, remember, Facebook allows you to enter text, headline, body, but it also gives you the option to upload a picture. Now, if you don't upload a picture, then you actually lose out on conversion rates. In fact, it's known that pictures actually add the effect of increasing your conversions for your textual ad. Now, like I said, you want to find a picture of somebody taking action. Now, if I were to recommend a site to use to find pictures, there are several sites. I personally recommend bigstockphoto.com because it's very cheap, very easy to use their pictures and so forth. You also don't want to choose a misleading picture because you don't want somebody thinking, oh, if let's say I choose a picture of some happy person, like a happy girl. She's not throwing a Frisbee at all. That right there is kind of misleading. If you find a picture of like a good-looking girl or something, then that's kind of misleading because especially if your target audience is mostly men or your target audience is mostly women, things like that. And you want to find somebody taking action and doing something. So don't mislead people. Make sure the user experience is very friendly. If you do that, you'll actually get an increase in click-through rates and things like that. Now what I want to do right now is show you some pictures. There are several sites that I would recommend where you can go find royalty-free pictures. Royalty-free pictures basically allow you to grab the picture and use them in your projects and things like that. There are specific rules you need to follow, so you just need to keep in mind the license. But for the most part, like Facebook ads and things like that, as long as you follow the license, you should be okay. There's one site called Stock Exchange, royalty stock, sxc.hu. This is a free site. It's a free stock photo site where you can find a lot of free images. I don't know if I can find Ultimate Frisbee, but let's check it out and see if it's here or not. Ultimate Frisbee, yeah, we got picture. See, that picture is it's not that good because it's not an up close picture. And with Facebook only giving you a very small area to see, you need a picture that you can actually see the person's face. So maybe I'll type Frisbee. Now, remember when I did my demographics, I found that it was 85% of them were male Caucasian men. So I'm not really finding a lot of, so it would not be wise to really put a woman on there if I know my demographics is mostly men. What you could do, another thing, is create 2 different ads and then have one for women and one for men and do some testing on that as well. With bigstockphoto.com, as you can see here, I've done a search on Frisbee and I see, a Caucasian man with a Frisbee. I could use this as my ad. And this is good because, as you can see, it's a white background. It's very easy to see versus something like this where it's all green in the back and I can't really see very well. So you want to make sure that your viewers can see it pretty well. But all you have to do is go to Big Stock Photo, sign up, and I believe it's not really expensive, these pictures. It can be $1 or $2 depending on what it is. But I recommend royalty free just to keep yourself safe, because you don't want to just grab a picture off the internet like PhotoBucket or Flickr, because you don't actually have a license or the copyright to use those images, and you don't want to get sued because of using just one image. So that's that. As you can see, it's very, very easy to write an ad, get your ad up and running, and get your picture. In the next video, I'm going to talk about actually setting up your Facebook ad campaign.